I found this Facebook post, and it talks about matching. So I'm going to read a portion of this. It's very long. I'm only going to read a portion of it. It says, there's a known win event. They've opened coverage for 15 shingles. After report, shingle is an old Atlas Glassmaster 3-tab, long since discontinued and unavailable. Sent a report along with all supporting documents, including manufacturer documents. Progressive calls today and states, sorry, tough luck. Adjuster states they specifically have language and policy that states they won't cover matching on non-damaged shingles and continues to pitch like color, size, etc. I told them it has nothing to do with matching. As stated and proved, this is a compatibility and availability issue to obtain. The like kind of quality materials cannot be sourced. He said, so be it. Homeowner's just going to have to buy the roof. I'm going to stop there. All right, there's two big problems here. One, Kerry can't say the homeowner's just going to have to buy the roof. That's a weird thing for them to have said. But I think the contractor's wrong on this. If there is anti-matching language in the policy, then they wouldn't owe for like kind and quality, depending on the languages in the policy. So the language in the policy for anti-matching clauses usually says something like this. If there is a mismatch between the new materials used to replace the damaged materials due to color, oxidation, size, wear and tear, all the different things that they would list out. If the difference between the old material and the new materials is not on that list, then it wouldn't be triggered. But we're talking about a Glassmaster from Atlas. That's a English size 3-tab. It's a normal size 3-tab. There are plenty of normal size 3-tabs. Okay? You're in Alabama. It's not a matching state, which means there's no state statute that requires them to do any kind of matching. What that state does is have ambiguity language. So like kind of quality is a matching clause, meaning that they have to replace with exactly the same thing unless there's an exclusion in the policy. So if there is an exclusion in the policy, then they don't have to replace with exactly the same thing. They need to replace with something that is of like kind of quality. Compatibility comes down to three things. It comes down to the size of the shingle, especially the exposure. There is a sealant location difference. And a lot of shingles that have switched from English to metric or something, the sealant might have moved from the top center to the bottom front edge. That's not the case here. Or there is a nail placement difference. A lot of the newer shingles have nail zones that are enormous. And if the nail zone has changed, then there could be a compatibility issue. But we're talking about a Glassmaster 3-tab that was discontinued. It was probably a 20-year shingle, and now it's a 30 or a 35-year shingle. But it's still the same size. The sealant is still in the same location, and the nail zone is the same. So there really isn't a compatibility issue. You could install new Glassmasters in with the old Glassmasters. In fact, Atlas would be okay with it. The question is more about repairability. Can you do that without causing so much additional damage that it becomes non-feasible to make a repair? It's pointless to do a repair because you're replacing all this stuff. There's another thing that we could talk about involving matching and the past tense word used in there, but I don't think it matters for this case because we're talking about compatible materials. I think the contractor's wrong about that. 20-year shingles are compatible with 30-year shingles that are the same size with the same sealant location and the same nail zone. They're the same type of shingle. It's the same kind. I think it's going to be fine. Unless the manufacturer specifies you will not do this. I'm not talking about a do not mix letter based on coloration differences. I'm talking about do not mix letters because of one of the compatibility concerns. Then you have something to work with. But the carrier's probably right about this. Where you need to go as a contractor, more than going down discontinued routes a lot of times, is to talk about repairability. This is why Building Experts Institute really wanted to tackle repairability concerns. So we came out with a repairability certification that follows the only standard that exists to identify whether or not an asphalt shingle really is or isn't repairable, the National Academy of Forensic Engineers guidelines on this. And the guy that wrote that, Chad Williams, is the guy that certifies our students in the use of that guideline to determine if it's actually repairable. And if you find out that this roof is not in a repairable condition and you write a report, it is much more objective because of the way that that standard has you do it and the way that you write it all out. That is much stronger than just beating your head against the wall saying that these aren't compatible. In what way is it not compatible? If you can't answer that, you're going to have a problem. Just saying it's not compatible doesn't mean that it is. You have to prove everything, guys. Prove it or lose it. I hope that helps you.